We have a Intelligen that went down again, so I came out here and I was like, what happened now? Last time it was the fuse, the transformer, the board. So we were like, yeah, probably happened because of the power outages, all the crazy storms that we had. And then today it goes out again. So what I'm going to show you here, it's just going to be a quick video. It's going to be us addressing an electronic problem by using a mechanical solution. So stay tuned. Alright, so I had noticed that we could take this little plug out. So I popped that off. It's actually connected. I don't know if I have those connectors though. And then here's our windings and motor. Nothing jumps out at me. All it had was like electrical tape over this. Then I removed the two nuts for these bolts that were right here. And that's it. Could have just been a broken wire, so we can technically rewire this with new wires coming out. Alright, so hack or not, we're going to reuse those same connectors so we have no issues. Hopefully this all fits, and just dab silicone, and that way we keep the water out, using some similar wire strand to just connect everything back together. We'll probably wire nut it up, and then granted, we have to see if the motor is good. Maybe I'm hoping it was just tension that broke that and vibration. And then they can order a new one. We're still advising them to order a new one because it's brand new. It should be under warranty. That should have not even happened. Silicone all this, and then we're gonna improvise a little bit. So it didn't reach, but basically that little extension I just cut off because it's supposed to be double. Just gave me a little extension there that I could plug into. The other one plugged in pretty good. Like I said, we'll seal this up, and then I just bent it a little bit to the side. That way, I don't think it'll hit anything, but we should have enough clearance. And then we'll see if this thing works. Couldn't figure out why it wouldn't turn on. Sweet. Broken brackets, fucked up wires, just burnt out the second board. Alright, so I took this off a walk-in freezer that we were converting to a cooler box anyway. They wanted it as a cooler, but they bought a freezer box. So this is brand new. These are hard to get. When I've looked for them, they've been sold out. I don't know if they're better about it now, but this, it actually has to mount it, so I just need some screws to put it in. And then we really just need red and black. I'm just worried about the fans. The board should control everything else. So I'm waiting for it to drop. It works with everything. I just got to put I had to put the bracket, or replace the bracket. It ran on two of the legs for the motor. Didn't wobble too much. I was afraid it was going to start hitting everything, but I just wanted to test it. So it worked. I'm going to let it drop temp. We're going to replace the bracket. Not a big issue, or I probably already showed it. And yeah, so basically there's a few ways I tested this, right? It's electronic. The board does everything. If the board goes bad or anything goes bad on the board, you're basically screwed. So I'm assuming, because I turned it off and turned it back on, tried to run it when I got here because it was trying to run. Must have had some water fall on it at that point or something, and it sparked. So when it sparked, I opened it up, found that the wire was torn off. I don't know how that happened. So torn off, the bracket is broken, or was broken, and we've had that issue too. They come unplugged because they're not zip tied. You know, we go around and zip tie them when we remember. You know, I mean, this stuff we shouldn't have to be doing all this extra stuff when we're installing them. It should be just, you know, put in a line set and wire it up. Not have to take apart the fans, make sure that they're secure. You know, the thing is, you know, fans use plugs, so the plug is horizontal, but then it kind of droops down to the motor, so it eventually just falls off. I've had that happen like on 3 of them, so now I kind of, like I said, if I remember, I check them. And yeah, so we've been called back to where the motors are not working. They come unplugged, and then the brackets have been broken, and those are the original brackets that are breaking. We've tried other ones, but they're not gonna hold, so I have to order the original ones. Luckily for now, we have a backup bracket going in, and then they're gonna order the board, the bracket, and then I advised them to get a motor, even though I got it working the way we spliced it. So basically the wire broke, right? With anything like that, you can always repair the wiring, so that's what I did. Gonna put silicone so water doesn't go into it. And then as far as the board, when I looked at it, I mean, I didn't really have a schematic on me, but if you just follow the wires, you can find out what everything does. So basically it has a fan relay in that top left corner, so there's 2 brown wires that go right above it. And the good thing with these is they do label around, because all the connections are around the border of the board, and they label those around the edges. So the brown wires it said fan, so everything else was like sensors or low voltage or heaters. So then I was like, okay, fan, that's the only thing that I'm looking at. Basically an in and out, so I'm assuming that relay is just a on and off relay. It must use some sort of sensor. I mean, I don't know, this stuff is new to me. It must use some sort of sensor, or it goes by temperature of the box or something to do the delay, because it's a freezer. They're not supposed to be on all the time. It turns off when the box is too warm. That could be because of defrost, or that could be on like a startup. Like it's gonna wait till the box or the evaporator coil itself gets cold, and then turns on only then. That way you don't have a lot of condensation, sweating, water everywhere. And you don't warm up, because you're using electric heaters, you don't warm up the whole box. You just warm up the coil, then it goes into freeze cycle with the fans off the whole time, and then once it freezes, it'll come on, the fans will come on. So basically it wasn't doing that. Now in these boards, the Intelligens, I do like installing them. They're super easy to install. It's just that when the board starts acting up, which I've had a few act up pretty bad, there's not much you can do. Thankfully we got this one going, but on this one it's only an in and out, so whatever it was doing was not working. So I actually ran the unit after I put the motor together, fixed the wire and everything. I was just like, okay, let's test out the motor, make sure it runs. I turned on the unit, it froze, it iced up, it was super white, super frosted. I was like, okay, anytime now the fans will come on, something will happen. Nothing came on, right? So I was like, okay, if my bad motor didn't come on, that's one thing, but if both don't come on, I'm not getting a signal or something. So on these Intelligens, you can run different kinds of test modes. So I ran a test mode just to kind of verify, make sure everything was working. And in test mode, the only thing is it does it on its own, and it goes through all the relays. So when that came around, you know, it said fan relay was on, neither fan came on. Now, like I said, I don't know if that thing has sensors, so I don't know if doing the test bypasses that part, or if it's still waiting for a cold, like, temperature. But either way, I did the test mode. The test mode, from what I've remembered, I've done a lot of coolers, it will kick in and out and be like if you're bypassing it. So there shouldn't be a temperature thing. So got out of that. The only thing, if you do the test mode on the Intelligen, it does 3 or 4 cycles and it makes you wait through them. You can't exit out of it. So what I always have to do is run out and reset the breaker, turn it off and on. And then there's another way. So when that happened, I tried a few things, made sure I had voltage, which I did and everything. And then the other thing you can do is on the main menu, go over to where it says manual. You click into manual. Of course, you need the passcode. It's all 9s. But go into the manual and then start manual relays or test manual relays manually. I don't know how it's worded, but you want to test the relays. Then you can cycle through and just pick just the fan relay. So I went through and did that. I could hear something clicking, but nothing ever came on. So like I said, I did all the testing and I couldn't get anything going. I even let it run at first, the first time, because I thought I was just wiring in the fan that shorted or the wires broke. And I was like, let's see if the fan is good. And the fan was good after all, but I didn't touch anything else. I just wired that back in and then turned it on, and it iced up. I waited forever, and it was damn well cold enough, and it never turned on, the fans at least. So then from that point, I was looking at my wiring. I was like, there's nothing. I didn't touch anything. It was working up until today that they called it in, and it tried to run earlier. So I think what happened was that spark that we got traveled back and popped the relay on the board, which in turn, when I removed it, and even before, I could see that there was black around the top. It popped something, so it messed up the board. Only affected the fan relay, luckily for them. So I was like, okay. I went in and threw a jumper from where the fans are supposed to be. I was like, okay, I'm getting it on one side, which I think one side goes directly to the transformer tap, so it's always going to have voltage there. The other side goes through the board, and then it just comes straight out back to the next terminal. It's F1 and F2. I believe F1 is the one that goes through the board. So if I bypass the board and I put my own jumper from wherever the brown, I think the brown went to a J terminal. If I just go directly with a jumper J to F1, bam, everything turned on. So then I was like, okay, the fan that I fixed is working, and I'm having an issue with something with the board. So then I took off my jumper. I mean, I could have left it like that, but it's a freezer. I don't want these fans on during defrost or anything like that. So worst case scenario, I could have done that, but I had a mechanical, it's a defrost, termination, and fan cycle. So we eliminated the brown wire, which is going to be the one that senses if it's too warm, and that kicks it back into refrigeration mode. It goes to that X that goes to your defrost timer, but we do not have a defrost timer here, so I don't need it. Everything goes back to the board. So all I need is to control my fans by temperature, which that thing, I forgot the reading on it. It's usually around 55 or something like that it's off. And then when it gets, under that and cold enough, it turns, or it passes through and it closes, and it gives me the voltage to my fan motor, or the other, or one side at least. So it's just a switch. Everything is just a switch that is temperature related. It gets too warm, it disconnects or disengages your leg to one side of your fan, because one side always has voltage, the other side is going to be on and off. It disengages, and then when it gets cold enough, you run it, and it runs for like 5 minutes or so, especially on a hot box like today. It took a while. Once it gets, it's temperature related. Once it gets cold enough, it makes that contact, and you have voltage all the way through on the other side of the motor. You have your 208 there. So if we do that, and I just took off the two brown wires coming from the board to that side on the terminal where the fan's hooked up. I just took those off, taped them off. There's no power going to the board and no power coming back. So once I took those off, I like to tape them up just in case, but there's absolutely should be no power there. And then on the thing that we put in, the delay, the switch that we put in, defrost termination, the termination that we're not using because we don't have a timer, we don't use X, we don't use brown, taped it up, secured it. I'm going to zip tie everything before I leave, and then from there, like I said, you just hook up wherever your brown wires were. In this case, it was to J to F1. All I want to do is make sure that it kicks it out when it's too hot and kicks it back in when it's running properly. And that's basically it. That's how we fixed an electronic problem with a mechanical solution. So like I said, I'm gonna have them order all that stuff, but it's Friday. I'm not gonna, even if they ordered it overnight, I don't want to come back tomorrow. So look, we got it going. It's working fine. It's working the way it should be. I'm gonna put the bracket's gonna go on because that is necessary. But they're gonna get the original bracket, the original motor. I'm recommending, and of course the board, because we could leave it like that, but that's a brand new unit. I would advise them to get everything under warranty and get it fixed. That particular problem was a result of their equipment breaking. Now there's nothing on us. There's nothing that we can do about that. You put in a box, an evaporator coil. What are you supposed to do? It's secure to the ceiling. There's no give, there's no gap, there's no, nothing's loose. It's secure to the ceiling flush, and then you wire it in. I mean, we're not putting any stress on it. There's plenty of wiring. Everything's in the conduits, the whips, everything's on there tight. And then our line set goes in. Our line set, there's no issue with the line set. We went and bent it in exactly where it goes, so it's not pulling it, pushing it, or doing anything. If the box is in, there's nothing else that we can do. It's an evaporator coil. You put it in. I shouldn't have to be worrying about all these fan motors, and if those are done right. Now, maybe something was loose. That would be like a shipping issue or something like that. But again, that's not on us. It's not something that you're not going to be checking every single screw. Although I will advise you, if you guys have any of these, we just installed, because the customer buys these. That's why we're dealing with Intelligen. It's not because we're buying them. The customer buys them. So we are having to make sure the wiring is zip tied, because I'm not seeing them zip tied. That goes through where the fan motors are. The wiring goes through the top. They're not zip tied or anything. They get unplugged. Apparently the brackets break. There's vibration, so now we're gonna have to be looking out for that. We just put in a mechanical one the other day, another Heatcraft Bond evap, and we're still putting in those. The customer is buying Intelligen because that's what they get up north. They ship it down, we put it in. So just keep an eye out for that. I hate to beat up on Heatcraft, but it's just the stuff that we're finding out in the field. So I don't know, hopefully that was helpful. I just kind of did the video just to show you guys, if you have that issue, you can do that. There's not much else you can do unless you rip out the board and go all mechanical. You'd have to put in you'd have to put in another, like a solenoid, a TXV, a timer, all that kind of stuff. It goes a long way. But if this is just the fans, I can find power to the fans and I can put in a mechanical delay and get it going. So we're gonna get that going for them. It's the weekend. I'm trying to get out of here. Just making sure it drops the temp. Everything else is fine. Just a broken motor caused the wire to break maybe and cause a short. Vibration, something. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. My guy came in clutch. We actually had a spare original one. Now I don't know if it's a Heatcraft. I don't know if it's like an aftermarket, or not an aftermarket, a replacement, or it's like the actual OEM, because it did not have as much, the welds did not look as strong. It looked a little, I don't want to say cheaper, but it looked a little different. But yeah, that's what I was going to tell you guys. When you see something new, buy it in twos. Easiest way to start your truck stock. If you're new in business, that's a good way to build up truck stock. Buy them in twos. buy one for stock, you know, one to use, one for stock. So, but I have that one. The only thing I didn't like is it looks like it has a cut in one of the legs, and that it looked like it was soldered or something to kind of put it back. So we're still having them buy, you know, they buy their own equipment. They're going to buy the parts or have them sent out, however, you know, that works for them. We're not responsible for warranty parts. When the customer buys it, we put it in, we warranty the labor, and if there's a part that's defective, we'd let them know or gone bad, and they handle it. So still want them to order that stuff, and we'll probably swap it out, and then I'll keep that one, and then we'll probably just start carrying extras of those because they could potentially break. And I have some spares, you know, my guy gave me the original one he had, and he had some spares that like match up to it. They're the ones that you can use for other styles of motors, but they have the same, you know, the motors mount from the front, so they're similar. They'll fit in there. And you know, I ran it dropped temp really easily. It went to 20. It's still dropping. You know, I need to get out of here. It's already like 7 o'clock, so we're gonna let it run. That's the only issue that it had, the fan. So they're gonna order the board. We're gonna get all that going originally. It's a new system. I don't want to leave all these aftermarket things on it, so we're gonna put everything OEM because it's new. You know, make sure that that's all covered. And I ran it, and there's no vibration. There's no weird out of whack things. You know, it could have been the fan blade, or you would think it would be the fan blade, the motor's shaking or something, but no. Not unless I tightened it more than what it was, all the little bolts and stuff, but we had no vibrations, nothing out of whack. So I don't know what caused that thing to snap, because I mean, motors vibrate, you know, even a little bit, so that's kind of odd.